This is the Truth Radio Network. The Truth Radio Network. Your home for compelling Christian news talk with an edge.
This is the coffee pot at work. Listen to it perk. Look at the coffee as it gets darker and stronger. Smell the honest coffee smell. Ah, smell it. But will this cup of coffee taste as good as it smells? You bet it will.
Like red wine.
For most, chocolate is a guilty pleasure, made better because it's so bad for you. Now though, an extensive study has discovered that eating chocolate can be very good for your health. It can substantially reduce your risk of having a heart attack or stroke and helps lower blood pressure. And before you check the date, this isn't a wind-up. The study was carried out by German nutritionists and kept track of chocolate eaters for at least 10 years. Even the British Heart Foundation agrees with the findings.
Dark chocolate has had a lot of publicity in the past about it being beneficial, and we think that that's due to the flavonols which are actually in the cocoa, and there's some suggestion that that's actually the chemical that actually has got the heart protective effect.
The study monitored more than 19,000 people and found that eating just 7.5 grams of dark chocolate a day reduced the risk of heart attacks and strokes by 39%. Even better, those who ate the most chocolate had the greatest benefit. As always though, there is a catch. High-end chocolates like these are the most beneficial.
When things are added to chocolate, that's when it starts to become fattening and higher in calorie. The more natural it is, the better it is for you. So the darker and the richer and the better the quality of the chocolate, the better it is for you.
So this Easter, don't feel guilty. It's good for you.
Should I give you one to try?
Some of these even add towards your 5 a day as they contain real fruit. Of course, the problem is, will it taste as good now it's no longer bad? Of course it will.
Google Court now in session.
Your Honor, you've got to keep Cocoa Puffs away from me.
But why?
It turns everything chocolatey, and they make me go cuckoo.
Well, they're munchy and crunchy.
Oh.
Now, what's wrong with that?
I call my first and only witness, Cocoa Puffs.
Chocolate in the corn.
I'm Cocoa for Cocoa Puffs. Cocoa for Cocoa Puffs.
Chocolatey Cocoa Puffs, part of a good breakfast. I find you guilty of being delicious.
Those who ate the most chocolate had the greatest benefit.
Wow, welcome in everyone. Hey, the Truth Radio Network. This is In the Crosshairs with Karen and Jay, the show formerly known as Taking Aim. It's all the same, and I'm not going to start rhyming, not like I do on our Thursday show with Joseph. But anyway, welcome to our first show of the year here on the Truth Radio Network. Karen, glad you could make it in. Boy, it's chilly out there.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely changed since the last time we were on the air when we were kind of enjoying a moderately mild winter for our area in Michigan. It was in the 40s, I think, and it's certainly changed since then. My how things change in a few weeks, huh? Brr. It's like in the 20s. I think it's like a 9 degrees, it feels like, or something today.
It's really, really cold here. And we did get that dreaded 4-letter word, snow. There's actually 4-letter word on the pavement right now. There's 4-letter word on the roofs of the houses. I even had to put salt out. So yeah, winter is here. It's here. And I know we've got a lot of stuff we want to talk about in a short time. But being that it is really cold out, and this is the first song of the year, I wanted to play this song, Karen. We played this over a year ago, but it's a really good song, and it's good advice for a day like today. So we'll be back in 2 minutes, 23 seconds. And the reason why I'm doing this is because the last show, Karen, that we didn't get a chance to play a song in it. And we had said at the beginning of the show we wanted to play a song, and we didn't get a chance, so we're doing it now. Be back in a couple minutes.
That happens.
Only one
I think I can hear Karen's stomach rumbling from here at that sound of hot cup of cocoa. Boy, it does sound like a good idea today, though, doesn't it?
It sure does. I've got my marshmallows all ready to go. So,
man.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, that's a great suggestion.
Okay, impromptu poll really quick. You folks in the chat room, hot cocoa with or without marshmallows? And the question for you, of course, Karen, same thing, with or without marshmallows, or either or it doesn't matter?
Well, the beauty about being able to choose on that, Jay, is that we could have a variety of types of hot cocoa. We can have the real French type, which is like you literally take hot chocolate, where you take chocolate and make it hot and drink it liquid form, which is kind of like a real connoisseur of chocolate preference. It's pretty rich. And then the other ways you can do it, you can add a candy cane, you can add all kinds of other things. So really, I guess my preference is whatever mood that I'm in, I just do, because, no matter what the question is, chocolate is the answer. So, I mean, what can I say?
Yeah, that's kind of the answer I expected. That's kind of the answer. I myself personally, I am not a huge fan of marshmallows, believe it or not. Oh, and speaking of, since we're on the topic, before we get into the really heavy stuff here, since we're on the topic, Karen, you're not going to believe what I saw on the local news this morning. No, not all of the auto show coverage, which is just all over the place this time of year in Detroit. Oh, man, you can't even turn on to get the weather forecast without hearing something about the auto show. It's just ridiculous. Anyway, one of the brief moments when they weren't talking about the auto show this morning, there is a professor inventor who has patented flour made from coffee. Yeah, and he envisions it where you'll be able to have your coffee cake and eat it too. It's going to have the coffee flavor and caffeine, and you're going to be able to bake it into baked goods and everything. I want to know what the name of the company is, if it's a public stock, if I can take stock in the company. I think it's a great idea. That's almost as good as dark chocolate.
I agree. It's a tough one. I mean, I enjoy both. And, I had a relative who is very much also into chocolate and basically a connoisseur, barista, actually, and brought me some Kenyan Colombian mixed beans that were just, oh, my goodness. I mean, I'm like getting so spoiled. It's just incredible, the mixtures that they can come up with, and there's been different seasonal mixes, but these little coffee shops are becoming quite popular with all these specialty coffees, and wow, I mean, we could just have like a coffee, shop, and then a chocolate shop right next to it on every city street, as far as I'm concerned, Jay.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Michael in the chat room says there's such a thing as chocolate marshmallows, and yeah, there is.
There actually is.
They do have them. Kraft, I don't know if they make them just the whole bag of them, but they make a variety pack with different flavors of marshmallows. Your own.
Yes, they do.
Welcome to the cooking show.
If you go on Pinterest, there's tons of homemade marshmallow recipes, and that way you can add your own level of chocolate in there, and depending on how, if you want dark, you want light, if you want, however you want it, you can actually make those according to your own taste. So, yeah.
So, we had to start out the show talking a little bit about the weather, and it wouldn't be one of our shows if we didn't somehow get into the conversation somewhere, chocolate and or coffee. So I think we got those couple of bases covered, Karen. The important stuff is out of the way. We get the important stuff out of the way here first at the Truth Radio Network. But it's good to be back. It's good to be back on the air, you folks, for being patient. Thank you. I was feeling under the weather last week, and we decided just to take an extended vacation because the 2 weeks before that, the holiday weeks were a little bit sketchy around here as well. So it's good to be back in full swing. And if you missed us, you're going to get some more of us come around. We'll get back to our regular schedule. And if you didn't miss us, then then we didn't miss you. No, I'm kidding. We love you all.
We sure do. We appreciate you all. Oh, my goodness. My puppy, who is now almost a year old, is deciding that he wants attention. I'm supposed to take him to obedience school today because he had puppy school, but obedience school is the next order of business. And he is, I don't know, but he's trying to get in on the show, I think. Stop. But when he wants attention, he decides to bite the tablecloth, bite my socks, bite my whatever I'm wearing. I mean, he does it gently, but if that doesn't work, he bites the couch or the chair that I'm in. Like, fighting on the edge here. All right, settle down. Now, Jay, we were talking before the show. We used to read on Armed and Dangerous every week, Ephesians 6:12. And, it's funny how the Bible is so full of God's revelation to us about how life really is and how it works and what we're to do. And it's basically our life manual, instruction manual for living. And in this book of the Old and New Testament, God clearly showed how he created the heavens and the earth, how he created man, male and female, how he set things to be. And, he's very adamant about being known as the one true living God. And I was looking up in Isaiah, and I wanted to kind of say a precursor. Let me go back a little bit. Ephesians 6:12 reveals to us that we are not alone in the universe. There are entities, not only in the New Testament is this revealed, but also in the Old Testament, in Isaiah, and throughout the Bible. We know that there's an angelic realm that was created before humans were created. We don't know exactly how long they've been here in the universe, but we also do know for a fact, and God says, that there were, guardian angels, there's announcing type angels, there's angels that work for God, which is 2/3 of heaven at this point, and 1/3 of the angels followed a top angel in charge of music. This is all in the Bible, who rebelled, and 1/3 of the angels went with him. He's cast out of heaven along with those angels. Those angels became dark and rebellious and against the living God. They're not redeemable. They don't fall under any kind of salvation. They're just there doing the spiritual dirty work, so to speak, in the background. Now, God allows everything that goes on in our lives, so they can do nothing without his permission, and he'll use evil that's, things that come at us with evil, he'll use for his good and his glory and our good. Also told that in Romans 8:28. But it's really fascinating to me, Jay, that we have this picture of the universe. We have this picture of the creator of the universe, and yet people are some people are skeptical that there is a spiritual realm until they actually open doors by using Ouija boards or practicing the occult arts where there's black magic and witchcraft, which we see a lot of, just kind of blanketing our country with pagan traditions coming over and being brought out from being hidden until being almost lauded. But Jay, you said that one of the greatest things that Satan ever did, his original name was Lucifer, but he became our adversary, and the name Satan means adversary now. You said one of the greatest tricks the devil had ever pulled was to convince mankind that he didn't exist.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's to me, that's one of the slickest car salesman-esque types of schemes ever pulled on mankind, was to convince us that he doesn't exist, or that he's just some joke, some character, harmless, a little cartoon character. Yeah, it's absolutely true. And you know, and they do it, Karen, through music. They do it through television, through movies, through books, through cartoons, through everything and anything.
Well, yeah, I mean, like if you don't know if you have an enemy, you don't know who your enemy is, you don't care if you even have an enemy, you can't fight that enemy. You know, Paul said that we're not ignorant of the devil's schemes. We're to be sober-minded, we're to be watchful, we're to keep on guard, putting our armor on, as Ephesians 6:12 talks about. We're in a spiritual battle. This isn't a picnic. This is a battlefield that we're in. All of us, especially Christians, are, you know, even though the demonic we're brought out of the dominion of sin over us through the blood of Christ, we still are attacked, and you know, he wants to thwart any testimony that we have, or any kind of move towards the kingdom of God that would be for the good. And he has a hierarchical legion of demons. Satan does. Lucifer was his original name. And we know all this stuff because God has revealed it to us. He's told us, don't get into divination. Don't get into starting to look into the occult realm or into the spiritual realm or into witchcraft, because it's very, very extremely dangerous. You know, our natural bent is to be curious, Jay. And we're very curious about things we don't understand or we think are unknown or unexplainable. And our natural tendency is to go, we are spiritual beings after all. We are made spiritual beings as well. Excuse me. So we were talking before the show. There's a couple of shows coming out, I think January 25th, that we talked about last year. We thought that this show, Lucifer, was going to be one that was, it was kind of controversial for a while, and they thought they were going to drop it, but they aren't dropping it. They're bringing it on Fox on the 25th of January. And we touched on this, I think, in the last show. And again, it's like you were saying, the mass media, the media of television, of, you know, different types of forms, are making this out to be, you know, he's a GQ, really suave-looking young man, very attractive to the ladies, very attractive and cunning, and, you know, showing these powers, these supernatural powers that he has. And, you know, it's kind of become a joke on this particular, looks like in the trailer, where giving them, he knows their carnal desires, people's carnal desires, and he wants to give them to people. He's the good guy. And now we're calling evil good and good evil. I mean, you don't really want to be moral, you know. So it's interesting how, even though people will deny that there's a demonic realm or there's a spiritual realm, now the New Agers don't. They're into all the higher energy, universal force junk, as well as Star Wars promoting this force stuff. But skeptics, like atheists, who say they don't believe in anything, are still dazzled by magic and the thought of them trying to figure out the supernatural. They can't wrap their head around it because atheists are naturalists. They believe in just the natural realm and miss that there is a supernatural realm. So by doing this, I think it programs people, though, that, you know, this is just so silly. The Bible, come on. Lucifer, really? Good and evil, this battle.
You don't believe that fairy tale, do you? Come on. That's what you hear all the time.
Mm-hmm. It's so antiquated. There is no other place that I'm aware of that talks about Satan, talks about that, but the Bible. It is the first mention of this demon, this angel, this fallen angel in his legion. and even in the New Testament, when they were trying to cast out demons, and I believe Jesus asked, "What is your name?" and this thing, through this possessed person, said, "Our name is Legion. We are many." And Jesus cast these demons out into the herd of pigs, and they ran over a cliff and died. Well, of course, the spirits didn't die, but the actual thing they were inhabiting died. So, they're in, we know that there's spirits and demonic realms, but it's just really interesting because on the one hand, we're wondering, are we really alone in the universe? We just can't be. There has to be other worlds out there, other things. And then they even bring that into sustainability, Jay, where, this whole climate change thing and sustainability is another way of pointing us toward, we got to get out of here. Either we got to fix this thing or the human race is going to go down the tubes, and we got to get out of here. We got to explore where else we can go because the human race is going to cease to exist. Oh,
yeah.
What is my dog doing?
Oh, what are you doing, Gus? Gus, you want to get in here?
Gus? Get in here. Oh, he's a brat. He is digging the fringe on the carpet, trying to get attention. Oh, my word, he has found out that he can do this.
Oh, boy.
And, oh, my goodness. It's just like him and a toddler around here, I'm telling you. Come on. Come on. He suspects that I'm up to something, so he's very cautious about coming. I'm sorry. This is live radio.
Our four-legged friends do make life worth living, though. They're such a joy to have.
They really are, and it keeps us out of ourselves. It's something we have to look after other than ourselves, for sure. So we interrupt this program for a doggy break,
pet
I guess
care
you
minute.
call it.
Yeah,
Pet care minute.
The Pet Care Minute brought to you by Alpo.
Indeed.
Kid tested, mother approved, or something like that. I don't know.
Exactly. So, I hope you don't mind me kind of chatting about this for a minute, but
no, not at all.
I did a little bit of research online, and there are actual magicians, dark magicians that are, like we hear about Chris Angel and David Blaine and these different ones that they put on TV. There are certain ones that are going among the public and performing magic tricks and levitations and things that people are just fascinated by, are card tricks, etc., which magicians have been around for eons. But I think they're trying to reach a younger generation who is fast becoming godless, who is fast becoming evolution devotees and science separated from the supernatural, So I think there's a demonic agenda here to reach the young kids for amazing things. And I came across a documentary that was exposing where these magicians are actually using demons to accomplish some of the things that they do. Now, admittedly, they admit it, that some do, some don't. I think it's beginning to be caught on by people that they are using the help of demonic influence. And so what they do is they'll have, some tricks are obviously you can figure it out. That was an illusion. That was just in the natural. That was a sleight of hand. Okay, they'll let them kind of have some of those. And then there's the category that no one can understand how these things work, especially when they're out in the open and there aren't, it's not on a stage where there can be ropes and pulleys and things like that they're using to accomplish this stuff, and mirrors, etc. So they're giving them just enough wonder and questioning to, is it really real or isn't it really real? And the magicians themselves, these dark ones, know that it's real. So there was one in particular that I noticed that went to these 4 young high school kids. They were in their school gym. I think this was probably in Germany or Italy. I can't tell which because they're talking in a foreign language. And he comes up to them, and all 4 of these boys are strong atheists. They don't believe in anything. They don't want to hear about any of it. They're so skeptical, and they're proud of it, to be a skeptic. So this guy shakes their hand, and he, introduces himself. And this is what he says to them. I wrote the quote. He says, now this is a young black magician, looks very Italian, very good-looking guy. I'm not a demon magician, by the way. What you're going to see is definitely not done with the help of demons, because modern magicians don't use demons. I will just be using invisible technology. And if it looks like I'm pretending to weave magic while I wait for the demon to levitate me, don't mind that. Okay, so they're like, yeah, whatever. So he walks away from them, shaking his hands and gasping into some, air into his body and puffing himself up. And sure enough, he turns around and he actually levitates off the ground in front of them and goes back down. And it's very clear they're in a huge gymnasium in this high school. So it's there's nothing up above the ceiling. There's nothing around them. And it's interesting that he would give them that little disclaimer, I thought, before all of it. So after they do it, I was going to read some of this. This kid goes, I seriously can't believe it. I'm one of those hardcore atheist skeptics. I believe everything is fake until I see it with my own eyes. Even Obama. I thought that was funny.
Well, I bet you there's quite a few folks who wish Obama was just a mirage.
I bet, yeah, that's what I thought. I thought that was kind of comical coming from someone in a foreign country. But since I saw it with my own eyes, he says, maybe it's not camera tricks. It's going to be interesting as I read this. Me and my atheist friends are watching this guy levitate. Right now we're trying to figure out a natural explanation. We'll figure it out eventually. This explains all the miracles in the Bible, another one says. If this guy can perform apparent miracles without demonic help or God's help, and he's laughing in mockery, that means that other humans can do it too. I'm going to have to say fake, definitely camera tricks, another one says. I mean, like, if they really can't believe, and then one goes, my head hurts. I'm going to have to watch all my Richard Dawkins tapes again to explain this. I think that's kind of comical. But anyway, what I wanted to draw attention to is that I think what this is, for years we've heard a certain portion of people say that Jesus was a magician, that Jesus did a magic trick on the cross, and that he actually lived and he came down, he didn't really die. He did all these miracles with magic tricks. He was a sorcerer. And even some of his enemies at the time said he cast out demons by Beelzebub. I mean, they were basically saying, that he's demonic. And Jesus said, how can, a house divided against itself will fall? Why would I cast out Beelzebub by Beelzebub? I mean, it didn't, he was arguing with them. And so people were possessed. People were delivered from possession in the New Testament. And, these entities just didn't go away. It's like, okay, well, Jesus left and all the entities are gone now. And that was just Jesus showing us, Yeah. And yet Paul in Ephesians tells us that we wrestle not against flesh and blood. Well, what does that mean? I mean, we're not wrestling against human beings necessarily. It's bigger than that.
Amen.
It's interesting to me. And I went into Isaiah, because in Isaiah 44, where Lucifer says, you know, he's mad at God, and he says, I will rise above, and I will this, that. He does 5 of these 5 wills against God. And then I went on into Isaiah 44:24, and he says, Thus saith the Lord thy Redeemer, and he that formed thee from the womb. I am the Lord that maketh all things, stretcheth forth the heavens alone, that spreadeth abroad the earth by myself. And in 45:5, God says, I am the Lord, and there is none else. There is no God beside me. So these people, I meant to read another portion, I'm sorry, in 44:25 with that other verse. It says, okay, that God makes all things, that stretches forth the heavens. He did that alone, and he spreads abroad the earth by himself, the tokens of the liars, and maketh diviners mad, that turneth wise men backward, and maketh their knowledge foolish. So compared to God, man is all those things. Liars, mad in the head. He turns back the men who think they're wise and makes their knowledge foolish, because it's foolishness to God, the kind of knowledge that we pursue and think that we've got all figured out. Like this kid said, we'll figure it out somehow. Well, you don't have to figure it out. Get in the Bible and it'll explain exactly what this guy was doing. But this bigger picture, I think, is for these kids to go, well, you know, if all these magicians out here are doing these miracles and these magic tricks and everything, Jesus wasn't anything special. It's another one of them. What's the big deal about Jesus? That's the danger.
Well, you know, just like we were saying with Satan, how they turn him into a cartoon character, make people believe that he doesn't exist. The same they do in media to Jesus as well.
Well, exactly, Jay. And, you know, the fact is that there's so much confusion going on with all kinds, with, you know, we have such a bunch of knowledge with the Internet and worldwide basis of things, and especially TV and movies and stuff are really pushing these agendas. And another one of the shows that is coming on the 25th, along with Lucifer, this one is going to be on the Sci-Fi Channel, called The Magician. And in this one, there's a college student, magical prodigy, to be trained as a magician, where he discovers that the magical world from his favorite childhood books is real and poses a danger to humanity. So, you know, they're carrying on. It's once you put this into people's minds and you program this, and this is a series. This isn't just a one-time show. These are series, weekly series. You know, when this comes into people's eye and ear gates, and they don't know the living God, they don't know the Bible, even some Christians who don't know the Bible, they're going to get very confused, which is Satan's calling card. He is the God of confusion, the Bible tells us. And, you know, so it's kind of like, on the one hand, you've got people saying, yes, there is this invisible force, this energy, this chakra stuff, this, you know, this whole universal thing. There is a source with a capital S. Well, we know who that source really is. He's the one who said, I will be like the Most High. He said this in Isaiah 44. And mode is deception. Talk about sleight of hand. I mean, this entity has used scripture and twisted it and turned it and even used it in the garden, asking Eve, did God really say that you couldn't eat of the tree? You know, he's very clever and cunning and very, very highly intelligent. And a lot of people that have done this medium stuff, and there's also been like medium shows galore on TV of,
right,
you know, psychic detectives, all this stuff, and ghost hunters. It kind of has a flavor of, yeah, that's entertaining and everything, you know, but that's just not reality.
Well, that's part of the great con job, the great car sale.
Absolutely. It is. And, you know, to the degree that you follow these doctrines of demons, you know, when they can show something like levitation and your eyes can't believe it and you know that you can't explain it, you know that can either draw people into the occult, which is probably one of the reasons to do it, to get it out and get them on board in the satanic realm. But, you know, when you first start doing this, not everybody that asks for demons or gets involved with demons actually is used by demons. You know, everybody be doing it. They'd be going, oh, I want my demon. I want my higher guide or whatever the heck they call that mess. And some of them do, some don't. But even in the UN, you have a mess of spiritual murals and rooms that are in there supposedly for people to meditate and pray in there. But those founders, like Helena Blavatsky, Alice Bailey, Annie Passat, all those three particular women, and I believe that Alice Bailey and her husband formed Lucifer Publishing Company, which ended up being Lucius Trust, is housed in the UN building. And they would love nothing more than to indoctrinate people that there are ascended masters, that there is the Christ, what they call the Christ. And it's a false Christ. It's not the Christ of the Bible. It's not Jesus Christ, the Son of the living God. It is an entity.
Counterfeit.
Yeah, a counterfeit, indeed. And there's different religious sects that have their own Messiah that's coming back. That's a false, you know, we know him as the Antichrist. But it's just these times that we're living in, Jay, are just, it's just interesting because the programming, we know that repetitive programming over and over again, what we used to call sci-fi, has some of those things that become reality. You know, the book 1984, who could ever, when Orwell wrote that book, who could ever envision a world of technology like we have, really? It far exceeds the book.
Right. Yeah, the book 1984 was not supposed to be a training manual, but that's exactly what it's turned out to be. It's become, if there ever were a playbook that's being followed, 1984 would be it, I think.
Well, a lot of those guys in that era were spiritualists, and they were tapping into the demonic through seances and mediums and different kinds of occult practices in that realm of people. It's not under the realm of possibility that that was demonically inspired to a point. And that, you know, the funny thing is, a lot of the Bible, and I don't know the percentage myself of the Bible, is prophecy. And a lot of prophecy was fulfilled from the Old Testament when Jesus came on the earth, and fulfilled many, many prophecies from that as their Messiah. But there's still more prophecy to come. And we're actually watching things fall into place little by little as we who have read the Bible and see what, God has revealed to us. And we don't know the hour, the day, different things like that. But we know the seasons and some of the things that we're looking for are actually happening, coming to pass. It's just the beginning, or probably into the second stage of labor, as God talks about the end days being like a woman in labor, which the contractions get harder and closer together, and ultimately the baby is born. And this new age that everybody talks about, this new world order that everybody talks about, it's not really a new order. It's kind of an old order with a new label. There's nothing new under the sun, Ecclesiastes says. So, you're either for Christ or you're against him. And when I say Christ, I mean the Christ of the Bible, the one that you follow with your whole heart, mind, soul, and
right.
It's interesting days that we're in.
Absolutely. It really is interesting days. And like you said, where we are as far as the birth pangs and whatnot, it's hard to tell where we are actually, but we're moving very close. And, just about every generation has said that. We're moving close to the return of Jesus. But, it's true. It is true in retrospect. Every day that we live, we are one day closer to the return of Jesus. You want to be that literal about it. But never before in history have so many signs been evident, and not they're not. This isn't hidden Bible knowledge and stuff. This is readily available for those who have eyes.
And the thing is, Jay, they had to happen all in one time. There's been earthquakes, there's been this, there's been that, famines, etc. But what we're looking for is when all these things are coming together at one time, and they're clustering together and becoming more frequent and stronger and together. But even, God says it's going to be as in the days before the flood, where Noah was building the flood, and mankind was becoming totally depraved, totally violent, totally immoral, totally anti-God, to the point that God had had enough. And he just preserved a few that were righteous for him. And Jesus said, in the days of Noah, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. When Jesus comes,
Amen.
It's going to continue down this path that we're seeing of godlessness and lawlessness and Antichrist, people pulling away from the living God, people mocking and scorning and making fun of. And so, it's interesting how at Christmas we had all these atheists with the billboard, mocking belief systems and mocking God and everything. And that's another sign that there would be scoffers and mockers. And those who said, you've been saying this for years and it's never come to be. Come on, get over it, And Jesus told us that this was going to happen, and it is happening, because there's a definite hatred for the living God in men's hearts. Their hearts are growing cold because of sin and lawlessness and rebellion against him. And, that can only have a crash and burn kind of landing, because without the living God in your life or your society or your world, it's going to be a very hostile place. The New Agers keep thinking we're going to have this new age that comes in, that somehow we're going to evolve into this peace-loving planet. But that's not what the Bible says. And we go by what the Bible says, and it will be, God is faithful and true, and his word will happen exactly as he says, and exactly in the time that he chooses, and exactly the way that he chooses it. And in the meantime, we're in a battle for men's souls. As ambassadors of Christ Jesus right now, I was just looking at this thing a couple days ago or whenever it was when David Bowie died. And people were going on and on about David Bowie. Like, well, he's 69, he smokes like crazy. There's hardly ever a picture of him that he doesn't have a cigarette in his mouth. And yet people act like dead. Why is that a newsflash? None of us get out of here alive, people. I mean, we're all going to die. It's a matter of when, but it will happen. And I was thinking about this. He was a Crowley follower. Crowley was considered the most evil man in the world in England. Was into heavy-duty black arts and magic and, really sick. And a lot of these performers follow Crowley because they like what Crowley says, that to do whatever you want to do is to hold the law. I mean, you can do whatever you want. Nobody can tell you what to do. You just do what you want. Gratify the flesh. Do whatever you want to do. And completely antichrist against the living God. And yet there's people, even Christians, who laud this guy as some genius, as some great thing. And I think a couple things. The shock, if he died without Jesus Christ and the righteousness from the blood of Christ on the cross, it's going to be a real shock to him on the other side. And then the other thing is, and once it's done, it's done. There is no, God says it's appointed once for man to die, and then comes the judgment. That's the end of it. I mean, there's none of this reincarnation coming back business. Okay? Well, the other thing is the influence that this man has had on not only, the world actually. And people are so deceived, they'll follow these idols, these musicians that are almost like a Pied Piper, leading people, with their pipes, just away, and down the road to hell. I mean, you've got these people even having songs, the highway, I'm going down the highway to hell, and laughing about it, and wanting it, and glad that they are. And we are so desensitized to this in this country, Jay, that we can't even determine that this is really bad news for us. It's hard enough to be disciplined to follow Christ without all of these distractions that are demonic distractions. And if we start putting our faith in our, people are actually grieving over him, and I grieve in that if he died without Christ, I feel for him because he's another lost soul who will spend eternity separated from God. In that respect, I do feel for him. But it's just amazing to watch people idolize these people like they're gods, they're little gods. And we're like that with this whole celebrity culture.
Oh, absolutely.
But,
Karen, we're
many
down
of these actors, what's that? Yep, we're getting up close.
I was just going to say we're down to 5 minutes. Wow, go ahead.
Yeah, many of the actors and the musicians readily admit, you can find clips on YouTube and stuff, especially there's one really good series, it's older, but it's called They Sold Their Souls for Rock and Roll. And it's a huge documentary on a lot of the musicians and their musicians. We got magicians and musicians, and but many of these people, the actors themselves, will say, I channel these demons. Oprah said it. Denzel Washington has said it. Other people, even Johnny Depp has said it, that they channel these entities that take over. Beyonce has said it. Who said it? Nicki Minaj has said it. Many of them blatantly admit it, and yet did people not just hear what they just said? Are they just trying, acting like, or what? They're telling you up front, this is what's going on, people. but we're so desensitized we don't even care. It's like, oh, well, whatever. Just, bring it on.
Right.
It's really a bizarre time of history.
Right, and those television shows that you mentioned and the music and whatnot, all the entertainment, it does a good job of desensitizing us.
Well, it does, and this whole Crowleyan thing, if people want to know, look up Alex Crowley and do some research on him. And, Led Zeppelin was influenced. A lot of these music people are admittedly followers of Crowley, and it's basically a demonic, satanic way of life that we do what we want to do. And our flesh loves that, because that's basically we come into the world condemned and under God's wrath because we're separate from Him, from sin. And unless that payment through the blood of Christ makes us righteous from the work He did on the cross, we have no payment for sin. That is our payment for sin. So I would just encourage people that on this side of heaven, become at peace with God and believe in the Lord Jesus Christ and what He has done for us, because there is no other answer to this mess that we're in and the afterlife coming. But there's great joy in being saved from ourselves, being saved out of the dominion and out of the darkness into His marvelous light. And He's the only one who came back from the dead and proved Himself God. I'll follow Jesus, Jay.
Amen. Wow. It was a great show for our first show back for the year. Some folks I know have had issues in the chat room. But you can always catch us on the download and go to our website, www.thetruthradionetwork.com, and you don't need to download the show. Just go to the website. The show plays automatically, so you don't have to worry about any of the flash issues that folks in Blog Talk Radio. Michael, I see you. Just saw your call about 4 minutes ago, but couldn't get to you. My apologies. We're running with this little computer. It's hard to open up more than one window. Anyway, Joseph and I will be back Thursday this week, Thursday at 2 Eastern, 1 Central for a swift kick in the afternoon. And then Sunday, the sermon show. And then hopefully next week we'll be back to our full schedule again. So anyway, Karen, God bless you, sis.
All right.
Great show this week.
God bless you, too. And all of our listeners, thanks for listening and coming along with us today. And join us next week at 2 p.m. Eastern here at Blog Talk Radio, Truth Radio Network. And join us in the chat room. And we'd love to have you be here with us. So, and thanks to archive listeners as well for tuning in. So we appreciate all of you. God bless you all. And God willing, we'll be back next week.
Yep, God willing. Thanks, folks. Take care. God bless you. This is the Truth Radio Network. The Truth Radio Network, your home for compelling Christian news talk with an edge.